Okay, let's dive right in. We're going to talk about the Quran today, but probably not in the way you're used to thinking about it. We're here to challenge a really fundamental idea about what this text even is. The common way to look at it is like a static text, right? A letter sent from the past, a collection of stories and laws. It's kind of like looking at sheet music and only seeing the notes on the page, not hearing the symphony.
But what if that's missing the point completely? What if it's not a letter at all, but a dynamic living system? I'm talking about a divine equation that describes the actual physics of the soul, something that's not just meant to be read, but to be solved. So, to really get this, we have to move past the idea that this is just a book of stories. The narratives in the Quran, they're not just what happened back then. They're demonstrations of cosmic laws in action.
Think about the story of Ibrahim, or Abraham. He gets thrown into this massive fire and just walks out, completely unharmed. We call it a miracle, and sure, it is, but in this new framework, what even is a miracle? It might not be a suspension of physical laws, but maybe the activation of a higher one.
And here's what's so wild. The verse isn't just describing what happened. It is the event. It's a direct command. Oh, fire, be coolness. It's like a divine intervention that reaches right into the source code of reality and literally rewrites the variables of physics in that moment for that person.
So how does that work? Well, we can actually borrow a concept from math called a boundary condition. A boundary condition just defines how a system behaves at its absolute limits. And in this case, Ibrahim's total submission, his Islam, is that boundary condition. When surrender is that absolute, the normal rules of reality, the default settings that say fire burns, they're just superseded. They collapse.
Okay, so if these incredible events aren't just random violations of nature, but outcomes based on very specific conditions, that suggests they're part of a bigger, solvable equation. Let's build on that.
Let's look at another example. Yusuf, or Joseph. The guy's betrayed by his own brothers, sold, wrongfully imprisoned, decades of suffering. And yet, his final response isn't rage or a desire for revenge. It's perfect peace. How is that even possible, mathematically speaking?
It's because his life wasn't just a straight line where pain just piles up. In calculus, right, an integral sums up all the little pieces under a curve to find the total. Yusuf's life was like that integral. Every single moment of trial, every tear, it was all a variable being integrated into a final sum of profound wisdom.
And this right here, this is the solution to the equation. His forgiveness isn't just a nice thing to do. It's the mathematical result of his life's integral. The pain wasn't just forgotten, it was calculated into a higher state of being. Amazing.
Okay, so if stories are equations showing cosmic laws, then what are the people in them? This brings us to a really cool idea. Prophets as cosmic operators. They're not just characters in a story. They function like variables or even operators within this whole system.
The source material we're looking at here presents this incredible direct analogy. It suggests that a simple cubic equation can actually map out these cosmic forces, and its solutions, well, they represent distinct spiritual archetypes.
Let's break this down. Each root of the equation is a different path. The value 1, that's the straight, balanced path of Muhammad. The value 2 represents the path of Isa, or Jesus, a path of pure mercy that can reverse the natural order, just like fire becoming cool. And the negative root, that's the path of Iblis. It's a mathematically valid solution, but it's spiritually inverted, defined by pride.
And this idea goes even deeper. It presents prophets as these divine operators, functions that perform specific actions. So Musa, or Moses, he operates as the force of judgment and manifestation. He's the operator that makes the unseen truth so powerfully visible that a mountain itself just crumbles in its presence.
All right, so we've looked at the math. Now let's talk about the physics. Because this divine system isn't just some abstract concept. It actually describes the fundamental forces at play inside the human soul.
At the very heart of this soul physics is a duality that's a lot like the wave-particle duality in quantum mechanics. On one side, you've got Ar-Rahman, the merciful. This acts like a universal, unseen wave, a field of potential, flow, and unity. And on the other side, you have Shaitan, the adversary, who acts like a particle, a specific, manifest point of trial, where the ego is in command.
And these two forces, they're not separate. They're connected on a single continuous surface, kind of like a Mobius strip. The path begins in mercy, that's the wave. But then pride, the particle, creates this twist, a trial that seems to flip everything upside down. But because it's all one continuous loop, it eventually folds back on itself in the return, allowing that very trial to become a point of renewal. It's a closed system.
So, this is the crucial part. Where do you fit into all of this? This whole cosmic system, this elegant equation, it's not just something for you to watch from the sidelines. It's a system that you are operating inside of.
Think of your own life as an equation that you have to solve. The trials you face, that's just the rate of change in your life over time. And guidance is the solution you find as your attachment to the temporary stuff, that variable, gets closer and closer to zero. It's about solving for your own inner peace.
And this leads us to the most critical shift in perspective of all. If this is true, then your relationship with the Quran, it just can't be passive anymore.
You don't just believe in it. You have to engage with it. You solve it by living it, by becoming a walking, talking solution to its divine variables.
So the invitation here is simple. Change how you approach the text. Stop just reading the words and start seeing through them with a new lens, seeing the precise, living, mathematical architecture that holds it all together.
And that leaves us with the real question. It's not, what does the Quran say? It's, what does the Quran reveal in you? When you stop being a reader on the outside and become the variable at the very heart of the equation.
You know, the text itself seems to point to this. It says it offers a diversified set of examples. It's not one single story. It's a multifaceted system designed to be engaged with from every possible angle, just waiting to reveal its truth to anyone who's willing to not just read it, but to solve it.